and good afternoon. Thank you for watching. This is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta. Health officials are once again warning of dangerous conditions after test results showed high concentration of toxic materials in burn zones following the wildfires on Maui. The Maui wildfires left behind plenty of wreckage to clean up, a process made more difficult by hazardous ash. The warning is for anyone entering the burn zones. High levels of toxic substances were found in ash samples that were collected from multiple upcountry homes, according to the State Department of Health in a media briefing held on Sunday.
The presence of those substances is not surprising, but the concentrations are indeed high, which only reinforces the need to follow the precautionary measures that have been previously communicated.
Health officials are warning residents to avoid any kind of direct exposure. They're advising people who are going in and out of the area to wear personal protective equipment, especially masks. The state says that it expects to find similar toxic levels in Lahaina as well, but that hasn't happened yet. We're told once the EPA completes phase 1 of hazard removal, the Department of Health can begin sampling ash in Lahaina. Well, the day is here. It is the first day for defueling of Red Hill. This comes after months of planning. The long-awaited process to empty the Red Hill tanks is set to begin under the close supervision of officials.
Part of the planning does include doing drills to prepare if there is an incident. EPA is going to be observing the operation and watching to make sure that things are done according to the plans that have been made. If there's an incident, we expect the Joint Task Force to be transparent and to inform the public if there is any concern.
We're told 500 people are involved in the defueling effort. It's expected to be finished sometime in January. Over on Kawaii, Honay Bay is closed this morning after a man was bit by a shark. It happened around 4 p.m. Sunday. We're told he was bit on the leg and he was taken to the hospital in stable condition. No swimming and shark-sighted signs are currently posted around the shoreline. Lifeguards are reassessing the waters and will determine if the beach is safe to reopen later today. Now to some news. New at noon, Tripler Army Medical Center reported that it recently admitted a patient with a confirmed case of malaria. Officials said the person has since been released following treatment. Tripler said the patient developed malaria symptoms after traveling outside of the United States. The State Department of Health has been notified. Officials added the risk of malaria in the U.S. is very low and that there are no immediate concerns for public health and safety. Meanwhile, an arrest has been made in a first-degree attempted murder case in Eva Beach. 30-year-old Kekainoa Ikalai Makua is in police custody after 2 women were stabbed. This happened Saturday afternoon in the area of Mokupea Place. The 62 and 35-year-old victims were both seriously injured and taken to the hospital. Makua was arrested at the scene. A possible motive has not yet been released. And a 28-year-old man is recovering in the hospital after a hit-and-run crash in the university area. HPD says he was in a marked crosswalk while he was walking on South King Street around 7:30 last night near Kahuna Lane. He was hit and the driver fled the scene without helping. Police later found the car parked nearby, but the driver had already left. At last check, the victim is in serious condition at the hospital. And there was a motorcycle crash that left a man with critical injuries. He crashed his motorcycle into a couple of parked vehicles in the Kailua area. It happened just before 3 yesterday afternoon on Hamakua Drive. Police say the 51-year-old first sideswiped one parked car before rear-ending another, and they also say he was not wearing a helmet. He was taken to the hospital. Police don't believe he was intoxicated, but say speed may have been a factor. And another motorcyclist is also in the hospital after an apparent incident of road rage. It happened at the intersection of Nu'uanu Avenue and School Street around 9:30 Saturday morning. Witnesses say a driver intentionally crashed into the motorcyclist, causing him to fall onto the road. Law enforcement sources say the suspect reversed, then used his vehicle to plow into the bike, launching it approximately 40 feet. The suspect then allegedly made a U-turn in an attempt to run down the victim. but then the suspect drove off. HPD has opened an attempted murder investigation. We look now to national news in Washington, D.C. House Republicans are reconvening on Capitol Hill this evening for another closed-door meeting to figure out how far apart they are in selecting a new Speaker of the House. Skylar Henry has more details from the Capitol.
Jim Jordan stayed on Capitol Hill over the weekend, meeting with Republican colleagues who still are not on board with his becoming the next Speaker of the House.
We'll listen to concerns you may have. I think none of those concerns are anything that we can't address, so I feel good about where we're at.
Jordan did gain some momentum when the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Mike Rogers, announced on Twitter he is going to vote for Jordan. But at least a dozen or so House GOP members still oppose him, leaving Jordan well short of the 217 votes needed to become Speaker.
Frankly, if you look at the dynamics of our conference, there's not a single member who can satisfy 217 members.
That has prompted some to speculate that Republicans may need to cut a deal with Democrats in order to seat a new Speaker.
If there is a need, if the radical, almost just handful of people in the Republican side make us unable to be able to return to general work on the House, then I think obviously a deal will have to be done.
So far, all of the voting has taken place behind closed doors, with only Republicans casting votes. But GOP leaders are planning to hold a full vote on the House floor Tuesday, voicing their members to say publicly whether they support Jordan or not. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And the expense of U.S. wildfires is shockingly higher than what previous government reports have estimated. A new congressional report suggests the wildfires could be costing the U.S. economy as much as $893 billion each year. That's more than double what was previously thought when a Trump administration report projected the annual cost of wildfires was up to $427 billion. In the new report, the Joint Economic Committee looked at a wide range of costs beyond immediate wildfire damage. They included the impact on real estate value, premature deaths, and health risks from wildfire smoke, threats to watershed, and income loss. The hit to the U.S. real estate value is by far the largest portion of the total cost. The report estimates real estate has suffered anywhere from $67 to $337 billion a year due to wildfires. We continue our coverage now of the violence and unrest in the Middle East. With the threat of an Israeli ground invasion looming, the destruction in Gaza continues to intensify. Now, we've learned as nearly as 200 hostages are being held in Gaza, which is more than what was previously reported. Natalie Brand has more on military and diplomatic events from the White House.
Israel is preparing for an imminent ground offensive with one very clear goal: a crushing victory over Hamas, says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israeli soldiers say they're ready.
We are ready and we want to do it, to finish it, because they cut our friend's head and they killed too many people here in Israel.
In Gaza, Hamas propaganda video shows militants using a web of underground tunnels.
There are going to be improvised explosive devices, there will be booby traps, there will be suicide vests.
Palestinians with dual citizenship crowded the border crossing from Gaza into Egypt Monday, trying to get out.
We are only citizens, we are not fighting, we are not doing anything, we are just living here.
An evacuation ship carrying American citizens left the Israeli port of Haifa, and U.S.-facilitated charter flights will continue through Tuesday.
CBS News confirms President Biden is considering a possible visit to Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu extended the invitation, and the two sides are talking it over.
America's top diplomat is in Israel now, talking with its leaders, including the defense minister.
This will be a long war. The price will be high.
You have and always have the support of the United States.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is also trying to secure the release of hostages, but Hamas says it won't negotiate with Israeli bombs still falling. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Now, caught in the middle of all of the violence between Israel and Hamas are thousands of children. Some have been killed, others have been wounded, but for many, their lives have been completely uprooted from their home. CBS's Ian Lee has this story.
With war all around them, these young Palestinians are still managing to play like children when they're in the park.
You can see rubble nearly everywhere you go.
13-year-old Omran says he and his friends are fully aware of what is consuming their lives.
Planes above could bomb at any moment. It's unsafe. It's not fair that this is happening. It shouldn't be happening.
Children make up almost half of Gaza's population, and many were living in poverty before this conflict. Now they're waiting in long lines for food and water, some living in tents at makeshift shelters. And hundreds are among the dead and wounded, many from Israeli airstrikes. Here in Israel, residents living along the border with Gaza are evacuating their homes in fear of Hamas.
We leave Sderot because the situation is very dangerous here.
Raya Schwartz and her children are boarding a bus for a safer part of the country. Their town of Sderot was once specifically targeted during the initial attack and has since been hit with rocket strikes. For other Israeli families, life is at a standstill, with loved ones held hostage.
I ask Hamas, which is holding my family, I hope again in good health, please stop, and the Israeli government to please stop and just bring the women and children back.
Israel's military says Hamas has nearly 200 hostages. Ian Lee, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The federal government will no longer be allowed to separate migrant families if a federal court approves a new settlement. The deal was reached between the Biden administration and the ACLU Monday. It forbids any families from being separated for an 8-year period except in limited circumstances, like when someone has committed a serious felony. The settlement also sets up support for families who were previously separated but does not provide monetary compensation. It comes after border officials separated at least 2,800 children from their parents under former President Donald Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy. More than 1,000 children were also separated before that rule went into effect in 2018. Now, earlier this year, Trump touted breaking up families as an effective deterrent to illegal immigration. Now, back here on Oahu, businesses in downtown and Chinatown area are rather disappointed after one of their biggest revenue generators is being called off because of a permitting issue. Eddie Dowd has more on the impacts.
Businesses we talked to here in downtown Honolulu tell us hullabaloo on Halloween night can represent anywhere from 10 to 30% of their income for the month of October. They say right now they're trying to figure out how to recoup those losses with the event not being held here.
I was just really disappointed. We've been depending on this month on making a lot of money, having a lot of people come out.
Jasmine Mancos with Proof Bars says the Halloween event in Chinatown that closes off portions of Hotel Street and brings live music and costumes is their biggest revenue generator of the year.
I would say 20 or 25% of our monthly sales are just this night. For months since the summertime, we've been planning on it.
Even businesses like Murphy's Bar and Grill off Nimitz Highway get a boost from the festivities that they say can be seen in their October books.
Oh, probably 5 to 10%. And it's just foot traffic and people coming in and eating, and having drinks.
The office of Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi tells us there was an issue with the permit, saying in a statement, quote, "The city objected to the sale and consumption of alcohol on all of the public streets within the multi-block Chinatown area, which is what the organizers initially requested. But if the organizers had submitted their documentation on time, along with a plan that was agreed upon by both parties, the permit would have been granted," end quote. In a Facebook post, organizers said they will do everything they can to return to Chinatown next year, and if they're unable to get permits, they'll move the event to a different area.
It's an event downtown canceled. That's what I hate to see. When we get things going, we start coming back after pandemic and everything, and then for it to get canceled is, like I said, it's just a sad thing.
This event doesn't just support the bars, even though with a huge percentage, of our monthly sales that it makes up. You also have to consider all of the extra security hired, all of the people who set up the stages, the musicians. All of those people aren't getting paid now.
And one thing we're hearing from business owners is that although Hullabaloo is not being held this year, Chinatown and downtown area is still open, and they're asking the public to come out and support local businesses on Halloween night. Reporting in Honolulu, Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
A handful of the state's emergency sirens are currently not working due to suspected vandalism. The Honolulu Civil Beat reports it seems vandals are going after the equipment for batteries, copper, and other components. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency says at least 8 of the sirens are not working. Officials are exploring ways to protect them, including moving the control boxes, which contain many of the sought-after components, further up the poles. Let's go ahead and give you a live look now out at Santa Monica Pier. This is in California. It is a beautiful day there. Low 70s there in California. What does our island weather have in store? Guy Hoggy will be right back with your forecast after this short break.
The light wind weather pattern is taking over the state. Now, we're not going to see a whole lot of rain anytime soon. That's kind of bad news, right? Because we need rain. Much of the state, most of the state, at least in some form of drought. And we've got the extreme drought for South Point area, extreme drought for South Maui, West Maui as well. And those areas aren't going to get much in the way of meaningful rainfall anytime soon, including our leeward coast and the leeward side of Kauai. Otherwise, we're in for a beautiful stretch of weather with those light winds. It's going to be a little bit humid from time to time. A trade wind breeze not expected back until maybe Thursday. So during this time frame until Wednesday, we'll get those afternoon spotty showers with high humidity levels. But otherwise, still lots of sunshine. It's going to be pretty nice. And then the weather changes as the cold front drops in. We could see a few more windward and Mauka showers between Thursday and Friday. Keep your fingers crossed because, like you saw, we could use whatever rain we could get, even if it comes in through those leeward areas, and those soft wind speeds will continue for the rest of the week. So it's going to be humid from time to time.
Thank you so much, Guy, for that forecast. Let's look now at some news from the feeds. A federal agency is suing X, formerly known as Twitter, for wrongfully firing an employee over a return to office mandate. It happened when a company leader at X told employees their resignations were implied if they failed to show up to the office. One employee reached out to coworkers on Slack and said they're not resigning and instead would force the company to fire them. The National Labor Relations Board alleges that worker was fired for engaging in concerted activity. That's defined as when two or more coworkers band together to address workplace issues. Those actions are federally protected by law. A hearing on the complaint is scheduled for January 30th, but the parties could settle first. The NLRB has never issued a complaint against X before. It has repeatedly cited Musk's other company, Tesla, for illegal anti-union activities. Well, some sad news from Hollywood. Three's Company actress Suzanne Summers has died at the age of 76. She passed away on Sunday. Dana Griffin has more on her work in Hollywood.
Come and knock on our door.
From TV sitcom stardom to trend-setting pitchwoman,
Easy to squeeze.
Suzanne Summers was a household name for decades. But Suzanne Marie Mahoney wasn't always so confident.
Quiet, insecure, the kid who stayed in the corner.
After marriage and motherhood, Summers began her career as a prize model on the game show hosted by Alan Hamill, who would become her second husband, a love story lasting more than half a century. The game show and a role as the elusive blonde in American Graffiti,
I saw a goddess.
launched her career. Her big break came as the lovable and klutzy Chrissy Snow, helping make Three's Company a television mega hit. But Summers left midway through the run, fired, she said, for demanding to be paid as much as popular male TV stars.
The men were making 10 to 15 times more than me on much lesser series.
In the 90s, she went on to TGIF fame playing Carol Lambert, America's Mom Next Door, on the comedy sitcom Step by Step.
Give us all a chance to be together as a family and talk. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
All while making the Thigh Master a household product, selling millions.
We may not have been born with great legs, but now we can look like we were.
Through the years, Summers always embraced a live life to the fullest mentality.
It's not the problems in your life that define you. It's how you respond to the problems in your life that define who you are as a person.
Dana Griffin, NBC News.
The National Park Service is purchasing homes that are at risk of collapsing into the sea in North Carolina due to beach erosion. The service says it will result in safer conditions on the beach after other homes have collapsed into the water and scattered debris in the areas in recent years. The government recently bought 2 houses in the community of Rodanthe for a combined total of more than $700,000. The plan for now, tear them down before they collapse. The move represents a new chapter in addressing a growing problem of a similar at-risk oceanfront properties. Cape Hatteras National Seashore Superintendent David Halleck, who brokered the purchases, says it's a new tool in helping mitigate the problem. The money to buy the homes came from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which was established by Congress in 1964. It protects important cultural and natural areas using money from offshore oil and gas leasing instead of tax revenue. Let's go ahead and give you some good news now. For one San Jose mom, creating an elaborate Halloween display in front of her home is truly a labor of love. While her son can no longer see it because he is blind, she hopes that he can feel the Halloween spirit in their neighborhood. Marianne Favreau has the story.
Shelly Jimenez says her son Chris has always loved Halloween, but when his declining health prevented him from getting out to see neighbors' decorations, she decided to build an amazing display right in their front yard.
Play painless.
No bones about it. This is a labor of love, from the animatronics to the giant rat. Shelly Jimenez spent weeks brewing up this swamp-themed Halloween display in front of her Vernon Avenue home in Willow Glen. She does it all for her 28-year-old son, Chris. He was born premature, later suffered brain damage, has severe lung disease, and in 2020 lost his sight. But despite his health struggles, Chris has always loved Halloween.
He would get such a kick out of when someone would scream because they were frightened by one of the props, and he would be sitting on the couch just laughing his head off.
Shelly started her spooktacular displays in 2019 to bring the fun directly to her son. Since then, more than 600 people visit the changing display every year, with some traveling from as far away as San Diego.
I think of it like as Chris's legacy, how it all, started, but it just snowballed into something bigger that I never ever would have imagined.
Shelly admits with her son's declining health and providing round-the-clock care for him, she almost didn't put up a display this year.
I knew that so many people enjoy it that I really could not let my community down.
Chris's twin sister says the spooky display is a welcome diversion.
It reminds me of
times when he was really, really happy.
This haunt is scaring up Hope.
I do hope there's a little part in him that knows that that I've kept the tradition up, one that he loved so much.
A beautiful family tradition indeed. I'm sure he does enjoy that every single time. We want to give you one more look at your 7-day forecast. No major rain makers in the near future aside from for some light and spotty showers Monday into Tuesday. We thank you so much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Aloha.